Hello and welcome back to Galactic Goddess Podcast. I'm your host, Radhaa Nilia, and today I'm with Eva Vennari, a magical alchemist who guides spiritually led intuitives to live their full potential and soul purpose. And today we're going to talk about the dispensation of harmony. And we just uncovered and unraveled some things on our journey through the United Kingdom. So welcome, Eva.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Great to see you again.
I know we spent a grand total of 3.5 weeks together, so I'm sick of you. No, I'm not.
I was like, I miss you. I miss having dinner with you on the ship.
Yeah, close quarters. We got to talk about so many things because we had contact with each other on a moment to moment basis, and if we just were in regular contact with each other like we are when we're naturally apart, we wouldn't have uncovered a lot of what we did, I think.
That's so true. I feel like it was so wonderful because the day-to-day conversations, the places that we went, and this is a huge conversation, I think, globally, even if it's subconscious. So I'd love for you to just dive in.
Yeah. So, one of our main purposes for going to the United Kingdom was to speak at the Ascension Glastonbury event. And in leading up to it, there was discussion about how Glastonbury is seen as the heart chakra center of the earth.
Mhm.
And whether that's in debate or not doesn't really matter. It's like there's a local debate about Avebury and Glastonbury and which one is actually the heart chakra. And it really does feel like being in Glastonbury, that really felt like the appropriate place to be for the purpose of dispensing harmony. So the dispensation of harmony falls on the back of this new age. We are familiar with the Piscean age and how Jesus brought in the dispensation of love. And now we're brought into the Aquarian age, right? And so we are moving into this new dispensation of harmony. And we want to talk about what that means because haven't we seen this? I mean, you're all about the goddess energy and healing the divine feminine, and even now healing the divine masculine as part of my mission. It's like we got to learn what essential love is all about. And this dispensation of harmony directly ties to exactly those two lessons that we are trying to help people with.
It seems like the way people are learning are by what they don't want, you know? And so, yeah, this is a huge conversation because a lot of people these days are finding themselves single, and that's across the board. So many amazing people I know are just not in partnership right now, and it's not that they don't want to be. And I was wondering, what do you think that's all about?
Well, I think that directly ties to this conversation about the dispensation of harmony. I think there's a huge difference between what we have formally known relationships to be
Mhm.
and the relationship that is the new template on the planet. And if we were to give both of those names, let's say the old way would be the domestic partnership. This is the man goes to work, and in recent years it's been woman goes to work too. Somebody's the provider, and then somebody is the house cleaner, keeper upper, and the one who has kids is usually the woman. So I mean, all of these old ways of thinking about gender relationship, and the domestic relationship, they're finding their way into a space of a lot of disharmony. I mean, why do we not want to stay in that kind of relationship? Because it's less, not just harmonious, it's not honoring to the divine within each of us. And as we are ascending, hence the ascension Glastonbury, as we are ascending into these higher levels of valuation and also vibration, we have to bring ourselves with us. Like we have to go with us, right? So those who are different, that are staying back and staying in that old way of relationshiping, they're not going to know or notice the difference. They're just going to notice that they're doing relationshiping the old way. The new way leaves you with less choices. So I think there are so many people
I think
who
so.
Yeah, but they ascended to a new way of wanting to be in what's called divine soul partnership. That's where it's more equal. That's where it's less tied to a physical gender of the body and more tied to what energy am I embodying now? And am I fully living in that authentic and whole person, not looking for somebody to complete me, but looking to manifest and learn full acceptance of self and others in a divine soul partnership. So that's what I see. That's what I see as the importance of ascension and why it's so important to recognize the difference between the two, because you can be very, very confused as a divine soul partner looking for a design a domestic partner to try to reach that level. They never will do it. They're down here and you're up here. It's always going to mismatch.
Yeah.
So we have to be looking for the right thing. We have to know what we're looking for.
It seems like people want more and more that their partners are part of their divine purpose too, where they could go, go together and do things or collaborate. Like collaboration seems to be an important part of divine partnership.
Yeah, manifestation is a big part of being in a divine soul partnership. You get to put down all of the petty arguments about who takes out the trash. And now, mind you, if you're still you're in a relationship, somebody's going to take out the trash, but you're not fighting about these things. You each do the integral thing. Whatever needs to be done in the moment, regardless of your physical gender, you just do it. You see that it needs to be done and you do it. And you get to worry about, if you want to worry about anything, your purpose and what you're bringing into the planet, and how are you affecting the people around you, and what is your service to the rest of us. That's what it is. It's all about being in service.
Yeah, I do feel that, each person has a divine counterpart. And I think, and I'm saying this out loud because I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't, or they feel like they're giving up on that. And so it's really important to remember that it's all about divine timing too, whatever that means. But I think, I'm like, okay, divine timing, I roll. But, I think also, I feel like each person these days is kind of going to a new level of themselves. And so, unfortunately, those things can't always be rushed the way we want, And it's like, how long can you bake for?
A long time.
A long time.
But you bring up a really good point, and I think there is some comfort that I would love to provide for those who are waiting, because me too. And I've met divine soul partners along the way. They just were not romantic partners. And so you can have those. It's like your expectation. But I'm very familiar with, and I love universal law. So Hermetic law, universal law, people, very familiar with law of attraction. That's just one. It's a sub law. It's not even a main law. So one of the main principles is called law of correspondence. You've probably heard as above, so below. As within, so without. Well, if you take that and extend it even further, it says what I want wants me. What I want wants me. Regardless of them being right here in this red hot minute, physically in front of you. It's the what I want wants me, which means the existence of that person is because you want it.
That's so beautiful. That is gorgeous. I think people have a hard time believing it sometimes, and I think that this lifetime and the times we're in, they have a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure in them. The pressure is cooking within, the energy is coming in. Everything is sort of like bringing out that diamond from the coal. But it really does feel like a lot of energetic pressure. And I think we should talk about, what energies are coming in, and how do we align them to live in our highest, potential and our purpose. How can we use these energies to activate us instead of kind of pummel us, which a lot of times we feel.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of the word triggering gets thrown around a lot. I'm triggered. Well, what are you doing about it? Most of the time people say, oh, I'm triggered, because they expect you to do something to like be okay. And really, when you are triggered, guess whose responsibility that is to fix it?
Yeah.
Yours. So But if you lack the experience to actually do the processing, then it feels like you're always at effect of something, and that's power being taken away from you, and it's not meant to do that. It's meant to push you. These energies are coming to a 0 point. They're meant to push you to get clear, to get rid of anything that is holding you back from your highest potential, and that can be a life lesson. It can be a wound, a mother wound, a core wound, right? It can be anything that has been passed down to you from your ancestors. So if they didn't clear their wounds and they died with the wound uncleared, guess who gets to clear it? Yeah, and the issue with that is we're all busy trying to make money and live a life and do things in the world to keep a family afloat and food on the table, et cetera. And it's getting harder and harder to do with less freedom. So you need people around you who can support in being able to identify and quickly get over these hurdles. Don't do it yourself. If you've been living in a place where you are karmically or chronically, is a better word, chronically triggered.
Yeah.
And when you feel like you're always at effect, you're always the victim. Oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me again, or this happened to me again. No, it didn't. It's just happening for you to alert you that you have a wound that needs to be healed.
It's amazing. No, it's not everything around you. It's just an invitation. It's a gift. And it's so funny, but it is so true. It's so true when something's driving us crazy and then we're like, okay, where is that inside of me? Like, where is that? And then we try to, follow follow those lines to figure out, where did it start? Where did it come from? Is it mine? Is it my lineage, mother, fathers, etc., going all the way up? And I think it's like a detective work, right? So
yeah. For me, that's fun.
Yeah. It's good that some people love it. It's important. It is a very important skill to have, but if you don't know how to do it, there are people that know how to do it, and we don't want to keep like talking about the same thing over and over in therapy. We want to get through. We can't afford that anymore, to have these old issues that never leave us just because we just continue talking about them. We want to get through them, break through the barrier and the lineage stuff. And, I think this is how we become free. This is how we free ourselves.
Well, because the whole reason why people stay in singleness, this is being a single person myself. I'm not willing to give up being single, which is phenomenal. To be able to make all my own decisions, to be free to move about when I want to do, to not have somebody, be in charge of anything else around me or have to report back to them. They don't get that from me unless they are on my level. And so that comes down to, I'm not willing to give up my singleness unless this other person, this counterpart, like you said, is just as whole as me.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I'm attracted to men. And a lot of men are unwilling right now to do the work, or they say they're willing, but they don't have the support. There's a lot of support out there. You just have to search for it and actually do the work. There's no shortcuts. No. There's no fast pass. You can't buy your way out of this one. You have to learn it. Otherwise, you don't deserve it.
Mm-hmm. That's the truth. Yeah, that really hits home. Like, yeah, you can't buy a fast pass. Well, was I talking to you about Disneyland and how like they're selling the fast passes and then they have the extra fast passes and everybody's buying them, so there's not really no more fast passes. And that's kind of like with this. You can't cheat your way out of it. We have to all go in it, and that means being able to be vulnerable and feeling the pain, because it is there. For everybody has their pain points. Nobody doesn't. And so it's not there to punish us. I think it's there actually to let us know where we can heal or how we can heal.
Yeah, what needs to be healed. And your life is self-evident. So if you think you're hiding something from the rest of us, let me just speak to the audience here. The more aware person that you are attracting or coming into alignment with, if you're living your life in a way where you're making decisions and choices and you think, oh, I'm hiding my true self from you and I'm just going to fake my way, you will be found out. It will become self-evident. When you say, I want the easy way, when you say, I don't want to work on my wounds, when you say, I'm willing to learn, but I don't want to actually go do it. When you say things like, I want to be single, and I guess that's just my personality. And at the same time, you want an expansive life. You don't get to have an expansive life unless you're in a relationship. I don't care. I don't care if somebody has something to say about that. Go ahead and put it in comments. I want to see it.
We want to see the comments. Come on, guys.
Yeah, because you're fooling yourself if you think that you're meant to be alone. We do that to make ourselves feel better because we've been hurt so badly by the people in our past. And a lot of times for men, it's their mothers. And before, oh, that's going to get some negative feedback too. Or it's their first one, whether there's the love of their life went from high school, or, the first wife, or whoever they first fell in love with, or maybe you've never fallen in love with anybody yet because you're afraid of that whole, I can't be vulnerable. And those are things to be aware of. So it's either you stick with what you've got, and guess what? As we get closer and closer to this 0 point, where the energies are moving faster on the planet only by our perception, but they're moving faster and things are coming around quicker and karmic returns are happening faster because we have to heal in order to ascend. And so things are either going to get better and heal, or they're going to get worse. And it will be evident because your life is not going to be a happy one.
Oh, that is
even with the smile on your face. Yeah.
So true. I think I do feel that everything's showing up faster in our lives. So like if we made a wrong turn, that's going to show up faster, but that's actually good because we're getting feedback faster, and that's not a bad thing. Even if sometimes the feedback isn't exactly the best, we can say, oh, okay, I can do it this way next time, and it's not about, hating yourself or having self-punishment. It's just we're on a very fast acceleration of growth now, and nothing can stop it, nothing at all. And so there's no I think the karmic returns for so long have been so delayed. We're like, why does this person do this horrible thing to everybody and they seem to be getting away with it? Well, you're seeing now that people aren't really you can't get away. What you reap is what you sow, you're getting it back right away. So it's so important to understand that we can't evade these laws anymore because they're really being put into place. I mean, I think a lot of people have felt that they've been able to bend the law, like in a bad way, maybe in a, nefarious way.
Well, yeah, that comes down to those in their power, those that are more powerful, and let's call them empaths. They're not the powerless, they are the more powerful, which is why narcissists tend to pull from them. Right? Let's remember that. Who's the power?
Oh, I mean, wow, talk about reframing, right?
How many things did we reframe while we were on this trip? I'm like, all right, you put something, and I'm like, let's reframe.
I love it.
Yeah, the powerful one is the one from which the power comes from. Ta-da! And a lot of times we're seen as attractive because we have what the others want, whatever they are, whether they're a narcissist or not. I throw that word around rather loosely today. I give myself permission. But those who are seeking power with the shortcut, we as the empaths, as the strong ones, as the spiritually led, as the spiritually guided, as the intuitives, we must develop those boundaries and little internal alarm systems that say, oh, I did not give permission for that. And then how do I defend myself? Yeah. Because you're not defenseless.
That's right.
And I'm just saying that, but didn't we experience that together? Right. Yeah. So through some times where I says, all right, let's defend this. I says, being in in light does not mean that we ignore the fact that we are oftentimes targeted. And so therefore we need to know how to protect ourselves. So don't think that just be good or be kind or whatever is the defense. It's not. You've got to know how to battle. That's a conversation.
That is such a conversation. And I think it is so important to just remember that, for so long, I felt like being an empath was it was a hard thing, but we're never taught to say, but many times empaths are taught not to say no. Their boundaries have been impeded on since early age because those who were, needing to kind of siphon that out, they basically put those implementations that you shouldn't say no. You should be agreeable. You should be easy.
It benefits them. Yeah, it benefits them for you to not say no, right? So it's okay for us. We're coming into our power. So all of those who are taught to, oh, girls are supposed to be nice and do what they're told, and and nice is good, so therefore no is bad. Let's reframe all of that. And that's the energy it's coming in to become a divine feminine. If you do not have boundaries for yourself, you cannot have good boundaries with your divine masculine.
Exactly. And I think, in these beautiful relationships, these divine relationships that are available, that boundaries is a very integral part of it. Having sacred boundaries, knowing how you want to shape the relationship, knowing what works for you, what doesn't work for you, having clarity. Because if one person is just doing whatever they want to do all the time and they're not checking in, hey, what do you think about this? Getting that feedback, they're just doing their life, but you're just sort of there for the ride. It's not going to be satisfactory. It won't be divine. In other words.
That's domestic. That's domestic.
That's domestic.
Yeah, and if you're a divine person trying to do domestic, you'll be frustrated. You'll feel put out. You'll constantly feel like you're being taken advantage of. I mean, it's gonna be abusive according to you, and maybe it is. But if you feel that, you got to have the pathway to get out of it, or come to terms with it. Yeah.
What advice would you have for people? Because some people are very stuck in their domestic relationships, You
can't, unless you want to drag somebody over the finish line by their hair. And I mean, that's the best visual, right? It's like, come on, partner, you're coming with me. No, unless you want to do that and force somebody into something that they don't want, that's going to create issues for you and them, and a miserable relationship. Find a way to, and this is just me, I would leave and start over. I don't think that a person who is meant for a domestic partnership can up level into a divine partnership. We've got kids, we've got a house, we've got a car. I don't know, is that the life you want? Make decisions that align with your soul and you will find happiness. And sometimes that takes years to unravel.
Yeah, I love that. That aligns with your soul. I think that's just where we're going, is everything has to sort of align with their soul now. We can't even fool ourselves about that. Like, if it doesn't feel right in our own soul, we can negotiate a lot because we've learned to, right, to survive, to whatever. But the thing is, it's our soul. It's coming, we're all coming back home to our soul, and we've abandoned that, as a society.
I think there are a lot of divine soul partners in domestic relationships, and if they would simply get real with themselves, like I did this, I got real with myself and I decided, you know what, I need to be in a place where I feel loved and supported and not dominated and controlled. And in doing that, I released him to go find someone more suitable for himself.
That's
beautiful. So who is being held on to that's yours?
Oh, wow.
And that doesn't mean go and steal somebody's, husband or wife. It just
obviously, guys.
That's not living in integrity either. Yeah. It just means if everybody, and this is me being Pollyannic, if everybody had an awakening of, you know what, I'm not with the right person, go and love and light, go find somebody you can love. This is not all about me and my world. This is about both of us. You can go and be free. Your soul can be free. We have done what we needed to do. It's time to move on, and we can. And therefore, I can go and find somebody who's more suited to me. There's just too many people who are not in a relationship trying so hard to make it work, and it looks like this instead of this.
I think I really like what you said, like, letting someone go find who's right for them, because as the empath, you're like, oh no, what are they going to do without me or whatever. And so, obviously it's nice. People do need to hear that reassurance too, because some people feel responsible. They feel responsible for another person's happiness, even if they're both miserable. They still feel like they need to take care of them. What if they got married and said, for better or worse, and that really sticks with them? It's just like, wow, well, you're gonna have to, what? It's important to let people go find their happiness. It is so important.
You bring up a memory of mine when I was married to my now deceased ex-husband, and no, I didn't do it. He there was a point at which I was complaining about how he was treating me. And this was early on in the like 2 years or something into, that's early. Although we only stayed married for 4 years. But anyways, it was pretty early on, and I was complaining about, I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly. Every time I come to the table with, something to negotiate, I would start with what was, I felt, the appropriate, here's the partnership point. He would start back at his level and would negotiate himself into a position where I was always the loser. And just the constant thing. And I learned negotiation skills from being with a person who was an opportunist. Great. I learned something fantastic. But this whole point that I'm trying to get to is that I made a complaint, and his immediate response to me was, well, you're Catholic. You'll never divorce me.
Oh.
So this was a person who knew he could get away with whatever he wanted based on my beliefs. And so this current energy, the most important one, is whatever is most important to you will be used against you to keep you. Either by your inner child, that shadow self, or your partner.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, this is the work right here. This is that little thing that you believe is so perfect for you and so important for you, your religion, your belief system, whatever it is, you're so proud of, blank, 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 fill in that blank. That's what's being used against you.
Wow. So emotional manipulation. That's amazing. So what is the next step for clearing that out? Like, what people that are listening and going, this you're talking about my life right now. Like, I could never leave her or him.
Well, for me, I mean, I had 2 kids in tow by him. It was the second one was coming along, and I was driving myself and him to my workplace where I was getting dropped off, and he was taking the car to go have his day, which I had no idea what that involved. And I just had this enlightened moment. And I think everybody has to come to this moment for themselves. I said out loud, 8 months pregnant, driving along on a highway road. I said, you know what? I think I can do this, and I can do it better without you.
Wow.
Now that's an abusive relationship. That's not one that's, somebody who's been kind to you and has been supportive of you and all. I'm talking about abusive relationships. And as a result, I got myself out of that and then became an advocate for battered women. That's a whole different path. But to know where you are, if you're here, any of my story, and you're like, that sounds like my life, then you need an advocate. So I would say find local resources, get an advocate, get a plan together, and get out. From there, you can build your life over again, like I did. And yes, I did. I raised both of our kids on my own and without him, and it was easier. Yeah. So that's the first step. So make yourself stable, get safe, And then let's look at the wounds that allowed that person to come into your life to begin with, and that you let stay. Why are we letting people stay for too long? So anyways, these are all really big conversations that I love to have with people and bring them to a place of, oh, I didn't realize I was doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, getting into the subconscious, figuring out where those beliefs came from. I think a lot of times people see their parents fighting, and so I think that's also wounding for men and women, is that they're like, wow, I saw that it didn't work out with my parents. I saw that they were both, they hated each other, or they fought, whatever. And so that's how they feel that relationships are going to be. And so, repatterning out those traumas, because they're in our nervous systems, they really are. They get stuck there, and they get, we almost like magnetize people like that to us, so that, and they play out again. And so, yeah, unwinding all of that it's a long journey, I think. But I think if enough people do that, that's where we start to make these bigger patternings in the world at large, where we're not recreating the same patternings again. We're all saying no more, like enough.
Yeah. I think that's what's happening. That's why so many women who are in their divine power are single. There's so many beautiful, strong, resilient, of integrity women out there who are holding their own, and they're holding out for their divine counterpart, because we don't need to take care of anybody. We want to love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. The pure experience of love. That's just it is on another level. And so since we're talking about that, I'd like to discuss the difference between domestic partner and divine. I know we did speak on it already, but people might be hearing this for the very first time. What domestic partner, divine partner, what does this all mean?
Well, that domestic partner is what we know on oh my God, Beaver. What's the name of that stupid show from the 1950s? Anyways, leave it to Beaver.
Yeah.
A domestic relationship is meant to just cap off at we're raising a family.
Mm-hmm.
That's the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we can buy a house, we can keep up with the Joneses, we can go on vacation once or twice a year, we can take family photos, we can take on roles in the house of you do this part and I'll do that part. That's domestic relationship. Now, divine partnership still has domestic within it. It's the lower levels of what needs to be done to live day to day, right? You don't have to exclude yourself from the domestic partnership part of it. It just has more. There's now a second level. There's a whole nother story to this home. Yeah, a whole nother dimension, literally. And that's where you have a soul connection that includes knowing the difference between just sex and making love.
Mm-hmm.
But women intrinsically seem to know this better than men do. And they don't have to stay stuck in with, I'm just a simple guy. No, you're not. Or if you are, guess where you are? You're staying in the domestic relationship, right? Yeah. If you want to learn the difference, then now you've got an invitation in. Yeah. So, just saying. But what comes with it is also these are properties of it, right? So you also end up with telepathic communication.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? You also have, hold on, I wrote down a few of these things. So, your greatest lesson in a divine soul partnership, the biggest hallmark of it is acceptance. Okay. Anybody in a lower energy would say, oh, just like what my ex did, you're Catholic, therefore you will always accept what I give you. Mm-hmm. They may. From a spiritual level, acceptance is, who am I to get in the way of your spiritual journey? Let's do this together. Mm. Big difference. Mm. One is considering the other, one is not. Yeah. One is self-serving. right? So self-serving versus considering the other and yourself. And I didn't say anything about sacrifice, did I? So needs, you're learning how to specify your needs and have boundaries is also part of the divine soul partnership. It is not an automatic thing that people are going to know your boundaries. If you love me, then you're going to know what I want and what I love. No, speak up.
You're just going to know.
No, telepathy is still communication. Yeah, and then that you're reflecting each other. And so when you get into an argument, you can rise up to that observer standpoint and go, we're triggering each other on something. What is it? And isn't that a whole other conversation than getting into fight about who was supposed to pick up the kids after school today? Like, it's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah. It has so much more kind of honor and respect for each other, like a reverence. And
Yeah.
it feels just there's a lot more consideration. It goes beyond obligation, you know. It's very considerate. It's very I think it feels also I feel like the levels of also being able to breathe deeper into that relationship, you know, where like domestic, did you do the dishes? Did you do, you know, it's all those little like kind of, it's like a naggy kind of a vibe. Domestic.
It's a competitiveness, right? It's competitive. Yeah.
Competitive. So it feels like it's just, it feels like your field can really expand more in that, because you're not always like, you know, like there's not these attacks. People aren't trying to launch attacks on each other. You're on the same team.
Yeah, there's no need for power and control. And so those conversations that were like negotiations that I mentioned that I was having with my now deceased ex-husband, he he had a competition about himself that didn't include me as his teammate. So that is a big difference, right, between a domestic partnership and a divine soul partnership. Divine soul partnership, you see each other as reflections, you see each other as, I accept you for who you are and where you are and what you are. You definitely get to recognize that core person, but know and accept that the personality, the needs and desires of the other person are going to change. And it's your job as their partner to keep up with it.
Wow.
And that's the journey of a divine soul partner. It is not to stay the same. And that damn near killed me as a kid. The domestic relationships within the family unit where I grew up, I was bored to death because everything was the same all the time, every day the same. There was no, why do we watch movies? Why do we watch TV shows? For the character development. We want to see how they're going to handle things. From the beginning, it's different. In the end, we're like, oh, look at that. They did grow up. That's more fun.
There's an evolutionary process to it. I think it's important to say too, like, two people, they're not so like evolved to nirvana that they're above it all, because we still live here on earth. So we're still going to go through, you know, trials, and there will be, you know, there are things that come up, as in anything, while we're here. But maybe doing so, it probably feels great to have a divine partnership, because you can do it together, you know, and you can get through anything together. And there's a feeling of when I feel into the energy and the vibration of it, it's so much expansion. It's totally different. And yes, there is like growth, and people, you know, we do grow at different levels, you know, and sometimes, you know, one person may grow more, but then the other, it has the invitation to also self-evaluate, and also see what's holding them back, what's triggering, what's blocking, whatever.
Well, and you're bringing up a really good point, is that we're not looking for our equal match. We're looking, everybody knows the yin yang, right? Yeah. So there's that complementary to each other, which is different. One still has to be whole. The white on the white side is still all white, except for the little bit of black, and the black is still except for the little bit of black, right? Energetically, they are pure, right? But as they come together, they integrate, not to blend and create gray, but to complement one another. And so leaning on each other and knowing that another person on the planet has your back no matter what, that's the freedom. That's the full acceptance. That's the unconditional love for yourself and the unwillingness to let yourself be taken advantage of by anybody, including your divine partner.
Mm-hmm. Especially my partner.
Especially because that's the most important person that's right here close to you. You know, that there's no other form of expression that I can give other than to say right here. You know, the closest part of where our soul meets our body, right here. Wow. That. And if we let just anybody there, it can ruin your life.
Yeah, that's so true. Discernment. You know, but I think that it's, you know, I think that so many people that are on that divine journey, like, have had so many tumultuous relationships, because also that is a fast track for learning too, right? And mastering that, overcoming that, but choosing also that, hey, that's not going to continue. That's not the path. You know, that was just a derailment to show me what not to do and what not to get involved in, or what I need to heal within myself deeply, so deeply.
Yeah. What part of yourself are you willing to sacrifice, and what have you sacrificed in the past for a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
You can answer that question with or without your diary, because your diary is going to be a repeating story of the same thing over and over again. Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
Your diary.
The diary is there to help you keep a hold of patterns, right? To help you see what the patterns are. So if you can see what the patterns are, then you can at least know what the problem is, and then you can find a person who says, "Oh, I've been there and I know how to get out of that." Talk to them, ask questions, find out how they solved it, because our goal here is to become masters of our own life, not to be at effect of it, and especially of heartache. You know, of all the international travel I've done, and I've talked to a lot of individuals of all ages, and the one thing that's felt the same, and I don't mean the experience is the same, I mean the feeling is the same. As people describe their heartache to me, it is, we feel it just like we feel laughter and like, you know, elation. That opposite, the heartache, we all feel it. Let's not do that. Let's not do that to each other. Let's make that decision to not break our own hearts by sacrificing pieces of ourselves to get what we want the most.
That's powerful. Very powerful. Yeah, that's a huge invitation, not to sacrifice, you know, and breaking through those martyr patterns too. There's so much to uncover and discover, and I think it can be very challenging, but actually very beautiful, because underneath that pain is so much freedom when we can lift it off of us. Like, you know, there are times where you feel like you're going to be like, oh, it just wells up, you know, and then it pours out, and then you're like, wait, I'm not doing that pattern. I'm releasing that. The breakthrough is so amazing, but you have to sometimes feel those, you know, deep wounds, and it's not fun. You know, it's not fun in the moment.
In the moment, it's not. But what if we, instead of going, oh my God, I'm so, whatever the emotion is, you know what the emotion is. Yeah. You got it. Done. Good job. Yeah. Let it be information, because if something or somebody or somewhere where you are, as a result of being there next to that person in that place, whatever, is that you feel terrible, let that be information to make a discerning decision. No, this isn't for me.
Wow, so good. It's so clear. I mean, it's so clear. And isn't it interesting how we've made so many excuses, like, or we've been taught sort of in a way, oh, you know, that's the reinforcement that we've all gotten. Just stick it out. Just, you know, whatever.
For the kids.
Right. just, just do it, just murder yourself for this and that. But, at the cost of what? The cost of our heart, of our freedom, of what's on the other side of that.
Yeah. And I can hear the ideology of certain religious groups saying, but we have an obligation to our religion or to our people or to our family, or, well, you can keep obligations if they make you happy. You can do the sacrificing if you are continuing to be happy. So like look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
So what we're saying is not to just up and leave your whole life.
No.
No, it's what, if anything, are you unhappy with here? Because this is your one life. This is it. Even if you get another one, you're not going to remember this. You're going to be over there. This is the one life with your avatar, with your name, with your personality, with your thumbprint. This is the one life, and we need to respect it and say this is all the time we have, and not to just give it away so carelessly to anybody and everything.
So beautiful. That is a powerful statement. And as she said, yeah, we're not telling you to just up and leave everybody. Like, you have to do some inner work and really feel like, has this relationship been tormenting you for, 10, forever? Like how much have you been, how long have you been putting up with it? And it's not, you don't just take actions without really doing your evaluations and feeling into it and understanding, that, yeah, there is discomfort and change. And then finding people to work with that are, qualified and that can help you out. And you do your course. What is it called?
Oh, yeah. Essential Love is the course specifically around calling in the divine soul partnership. And that first partner is the one within you.
Romance yourself, baby.
No, and it's all based in universal law. So if you've dug anything that I've stated about, law of correspondence or law of attraction or how these energies work with each other, you're going to like the course.
That's fantastic. There are people that can help. You don't have to be alone on this journey. And sometimes it can feel very lonely when you're transitioning out of kind of lower frequency situations. They're always lonely. But when you realize that there is so much more, and there are people that are aware, that are conscious, that have tools that can help, and you don't have to take on that burden all by yourself, it really does help. It lends the courage. Nobody's perfect, nobody's got it all together, but we need community. We need people that have been through a lot and that have come through the other side, and that can be a supporting and lending hand to us. So yeah, it's beautiful. And so let's talk a little bit about discernment, because I think that is such a big deal, discernment. When people, because as children, we're kind of, our discernment's kind of deflated because we sit in a classroom, we go against every instinct of our body, we're told to sit down and shut up, and we just go whoop, and then we don't really know who we are anymore.
Yeah, well, especially if you're told things like, oh, you'll understand when you're older. That's very dismissive. It doesn't respect the child that asked how come, why, what's going on. Yeah, so discernment. So people confuse judging, and judging would be like, your hair looks terrible, or you're fat, or that dress doesn't suit you. Like, no one asked your opinion. That's judgment. I have a lot of one-line zingers, so it's like but discernment is that internal conversation that says, oh, this doesn't work for me. Right? And then having the ability and the words to say that to the other person so that your boundaries are set. That's discernment can be a huge conversation, but that makes it at least compact.
Yes. Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Great line. I wish more people would use it rather than. So here's something I do for myself that I learned several years ago, and I love it. Anytime somebody comes at me with a question where I feel the need to defend myself, and I don't mean like, how's your day? I mean, like, why did you do that? I don't understand. Where did you get that information from? You don't have to defend yourself. You can actually just say, that kind of communication doesn't work for me. What were you trying to actually find out? If you want to get curious, but be curious, not judgmental, right? So the question comes to you as a judgment.
Mm.
Where did you get that information? Is attacking, right? Well, that doesn't work for me. What is it that you're really seeking?
Mm-hmm. That doesn't work for me. I love it. I love how zingy you are.
And it puts them on alert. It goes, oh, I'm not supposed to speak to them in an respectful way, a disrespectful way, and so that helps build boundaries between you, trust that you can have a conflict and resolve it. There's a lot of things that it can occur if somebody bellies up with you after you say that doesn't work for me. But if they come back and they go, oh, got it, I was actually just trying to find out about blah blah blah, they correct themselves. Mm-hmm. They've learned something and you've held your boundary. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the value of discernment. It is you may not need to bring that person in as your closest friend. You can say, you know what, you fit on an outer rung now, mm-hmm. until you earn something. Seriously, too many people are okay with bad behavior and they keep them as, but they're my best friends since high school. Maybe they shouldn't be. Maybe they don't deserve it. Right?
It's so funny. I was just imagining the rings and I was just like, oh my gosh, it's kind of like chess. You're just putting them on the outer rings. Oh, sorry, you don't get all that access anymore.
That's right.
You violated. Right. It just sounds so funny because, that's the kind of thing. It's just so interesting how we've really, really, really been taught to bend to our own will, to our own intuition, to our own instincts. And that's been so repetitive in school and throughout our lives and in our jobs. And I mean, it's almost funny. It's kind of funny, and it's kind of exciting, right? It's exciting to play with that energy and be like, there's a lot of energy that comes through when you just don't put up with it.
Well, and it's more than that. You're taking charge. That's that inner masculine, mm-hmm. finally healing for itself within you, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're now feeling like you can take charge and make decisions for yourself, and you're not always waiting on that other person to do what they said they were going to do. Oh yeah, I'll do that. And they never do it. Okay. You don't get the option to do that anymore. I'm giving it to somebody else. Thank you very much for your time. And play. Moving on. It's like you've got to make decisions as you live your life, because otherwise people will live to your lowest standard.
Ooh, say that again so everybody can hear. Please.
People will show up and live to your lowest standard that you allow. That's more complete.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. That is so good. People really need to hear that, because it's because sometimes they just put up with so much, and it's just like, no, you need to raise the bar. Raising the bar.
Raise the bar, expect it from others, and you'll get it. I had a boss years and years ago when I was still employable. I'm no longer employable. I've become a CEO of my own company, and I'm not employable. I was barely employable, and he says, "Oh, Eva, people tend to live up to their expectations, like of mine." And he looked at me as he's saying that, and I go, "That's not been my experience." But he's like, if you expect great things from people, then they'll show up for it. And I'm like, where are those people? I want to know where they are. More people like me, it's like, that'd be great. Yeah. But most people don't. Most people live down to their own form of expectation. And as long as you accept it, that's what you get. So if you don't like it,
get out. I like that. I'm gonna forever remember the rings. You sorry, but you just moved to the outer ring.
Yeah, and you can have several. You know, there's the people that only get you 8 to 5 or whatever your day work is, or people that only get to you on the weekend is your friend who shouldn't be calling during the day anyways. Or who do you see the rings on your phone and you're like, oh my God, I have to get this. If it's not a very close relative, a child, a parent, they shouldn't be on that list.
Mm-hmm.
My opinion. My opinion. That's
Yeah,
for me. The inner circle. Yeah.
that's beautiful. I think it's beautiful because when you have an inner circle, you revere that, and it's special. We can't be everything for everyone. It's impossible. We simply can't. We're not physically made to be that way mentally. We can, we can be close to a few people, and then yeah, we have to have boundaries because it's just too much. So it's so beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I think we've covered an awful lot of ground, and I'm so looking forward to the next conversation about ley lines.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, stay tuned. We will be sharing so much more about our journey we went on. And in the meantime, I will leave Eva's information below so you can contact her. And until next time, please give yourself a big hug and know that you are so worthy of divine love. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye for now.